What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So in case you've been living under a rock for this afternoon at least, FBI makes arrest in investigation into pipe bombs placed in D.C. on eve of January 6th riot, AP sources say. Why not just say January 5th, 2021, I'm sorry. Why not just say that? Like, okay, so they caught the guy. Maybe, right? We just don't know. They haven't given out hardly any information yet as to who this person might be or who this person may be working for. There's a flurry of conspiracy theories out there, folks. Everywhere from this guy was a Republican to a Democrat to he works for the FBI. It was a CIA operation. It was Israel. It's always Israel with the Israel deranged people out there. I love that, y'all. I love that. Oh, Israel did it. Why? Why would Israel do that? Why would Israel do most of the things that people claim Israel does? Well, because the Jews are bad, according to those people, right? But, like, I don't have any problem with Jewish people. Like, what is these people's hang up on the Jews? Like, I just don't understand that one right there. Look, I understand. There's a lot of lawyers out there that are Jewish. Hey, it is what it is. There's a lot of bankers out there that are Jewish. It is what it is, folks. Maybe they're just studious people, right? Maybe they're just industrious people that love to get out there and put in that hard work. Maybe that is what it is. Or maybe it's the Illuminati. You just never know in this day and age, folks. Could be the Illuminati, but I mean, Jewish Illuminatis, that doesn't sound right, does it? Or does it? We just don't know, folks, but they seem to have caught the guy. So, once again, I love this news article right here. They're going to kind of delve into conspiracy theories just a little bit. And, conspiracy theories propagated by the deputy FBI director. That is right, folks. Dan Bongino has engaged in conspiracy theorizing, as a matter of fact. Well, you know what? It's not like I love this, folks, that they will use conspiracy theory as a pejorative against people like you, right? Oh, he's a conspiracy theorist. What an idiot type of thing going on here. They don't care about facts. Well, that a conspiracy theorist is just skeptical of the establishment narrative. That's all that is. That is all that is. And they give us very, very good reason to be conspiracy theories. Like, I don't engage in a whole lot of conspiracy theories, right? Not like the deep dive ones, like the moon landing was a hoax. No, come on, y'all. Like, there's way too much evidence. Like, look, you can connect all these dots that you want to, but we landed on the freaking moon. I'm sorry. The earth is not flat. Dinosaurs did not walk with man. It is what it is, and Elvis is not living somewhere in Santa Monica. I'm sorry, that's just not what it is. But look, they give us good reason to engage in conspiracy theories, and I'll give you one right here. Check this out. Yes. Why would they do that? Why would the FBI release a manipulated video? Once again, that's going to make people think that it was an inside job, that it was an FBI person that did this. A lot of people have looked at that footage, right? You might think it's a man, right? You would think, somebody planting pipe bombs is a man. But there's one part of that, and I couldn't find that section in the footage. I couldn't find the actual footage that was released in my little bit of time that I was looking for, that I thought about it. I did find that clip right there. I thought that was fascinating. There's one part where the person bends over and doesn't bend their legs. That would indicate It's not conclusive, of course, but it would indicate that that's a woman, because if you're a man, stand up, lock your legs, and go to bend over and see what happens. Just bend straight over to put something on the ground and see what happens. You're probably going to fall over, right? You're probably going to have to take a step forward or catch yourself or something. It's just that men have their center of gravity or whatever is higher than women for some reason, because we got broader shoulders, I guess, and loggerheads up here. It's all fascinating, folks, but apparently they caught the suspect. We're going to see how well this goes. I do put a lot of trust into Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, a lot more than I would any other FBI director that we've ever had in the past. Any. Because, these people, they were in the space that we are in. They were on these podcasts talking about these things. And they actually brought reality to the table. They care about the truth. They care about facts. A lot of the previous FBI directors, we just don't know who they are. We haven't heard them speak at length on various topics, right? Let's get into this before I rant on for the whole video. The FBI made an arrest on Thursday in its nearly 5-year-old investigation into who placed pipe bombs in Washington on the eve of the January 6, 2021 riot at the U.S. Capitol. I love that. I love how they have to just inject their narrative building into that. Oh, well, it was the riot. January 6th, my insurrection. The arrest marks the first time investigators have settled on a suspect in an act that had long vexed law enforcement, spawned a multitude of conspiracy theories, and remained an enduring mystery in the shadow of the dark chapter of American history that is the violent Capitol siege. You see what I mean? They're trying to bludgeon you over the head with January 6th was bad, and if you advocate for January 6th or you're a conservative, you're bad too. The arrest took place Thursday morning, and the suspect is a man. Do we know that? Are we sure about that? A law enforcement official told the Associated Press. He was arrested in Virginia, according to another person familiar with the matter. So this is not even first-hand knowledge, folks. This is second-hand knowledge passed down to somebody else. So technically, I guess it could be third-hand knowledge. I love that, by the way. And it's an unconfirmed source. It's an anonymous source, y'all. Once again, all these stories, they're always anonymous sources. Always. They never reveal the source of their material. Why? Because they don't want us to confirm the information that they're giving you. When they do that, folks, I'll put it this way, that does not sow any trust at all. As a matter of fact, that sows and weaves lots of distrust into the news. This is why most Americans don't trust corporate press outlets. Absolutely. According to those familiar with the matter, no other details were immediately available, including the charges the man might face. The people who described the arrest were not authorized to publicly discuss a case that has not yet been made public and spoke on the condition of anonymity. The pipe bombs were placed on the evening of January 5th, 2021, near the offices of the Democratic and Republican National Committees in the District of Columbia. Nobody was hurt before the pipe bombs were rendered safe, but the FBI has said both devices could have been lethal. Right, and we still want to know why Kamala Harris, the vice president, or the incumbent vice president, right, was allowed to get within 10 feet of one of those bombs and stood around there for 10 minutes talking with people. We don't know. I don't know who those people were. I just remember this. She was allowed. Before, that was when they discovered the pipe bombs, by the way. Kamala Harris was standing right there. That's interesting, don't you think? In the years since, investigators have sought the public's help in identifying a shadowy subject seen on surveillance camera, even as they struggled to determine answers to basic questions, including the person's gender and motive, and whether the act had a clear connection to the riot at the Capitol a day later when supporters of President Donald Trump stormed the building in a bid to halt the certification of the Republicans' 2020 election loss to Democrat Joe Biden. Like, what? Once again, that is the fourth time that they've mentioned January 6th. Why? Why do they keep injecting their insurrection into this thing? Like it's one of the deadliest days on planet Earth, y'all. That's according to the Associated Press, right? And then how do we know that those bumbling idiots that stormed the Capitol to halt the certification of the electoral, of the vote count? How do we know that? We don't know that, folks. We absolutely don't know that. Once again, you can make that assumption, and look, I don't blame you for making that assumption. I get it. I totally get it. The thing is, we really don't. We don't know the motivating factor behind all of those people that stormed the Capitol. There is evidence to suggest that the Capitol Police actually invoked January 6th. Yes, there is. There's evidence out there that suggests this. There's video evidence of Capitol Police on a second-story balcony firing pepper balls into the crowd before they stormed the Capitol. I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just saying that that is evidence to point in that direction. That is it. Seeking a breakthrough, the FBI last January publicized additional information about the investigation, including an estimate that the suspect was about 5'7", as well as previously unreleased video of the suspect placing one of the bombs. Yeah, I love how previously they mentioned that, for years the FBI has been seeking the assistance of the population, of the citizenry, to help us with our investigation. Hang on just a second. Yeah, that was under this new administration, as a matter of fact. I don't recall and could not find any evidence whatsoever of the FBI seeking help from the public to find the January 6th pipe bomber while the FBI was under the control of Christopher Wray and Joe Biden. I couldn't find any. But when Donald Trump came in, they expanded that investigation massively, folks, and also put out a call to the public to ask for assistance. Anybody has any information? They put out this long video, pretty much all the evidence that we had. They tracked the guy, his route, all over Washington, D.C., that whole little area right there. There's an entire video. As a matter of fact, I covered that video on this channel, I don't know, 6 months ago, something like that. Talking about all his route. Every single time this guy shows up on some surveillance camera somewhere, the FBI collected all that, put it together into a long video, had a little map and everything that they made up. It's fascinating. Very fascinating. And, credit to Julie Kelly for that previous clip that I showed you, because she is the one that put those two together to show the inconsistencies in the video that was released. So, once again, do I have any confidence that Christopher Wray's FBI diligently sought out this person? I don't, folks. I don't. I don't have any confidence that Christopher Wray did anything that wasn't partisan toward, on the side of Joe Biden and them. Anyway, let's keep going for a minute. Got a little bit more. The Bureau had for years struggled to pinpoint a suspect despite hundreds of tips, a review of tens of thousands of video files, and a significant number of interviews. Oh, now who's engaging in conspiracy theories? Because what does that insinuate right there? That the FBI, under the direction of Christopher Wray, did not give a damn. Didn't give a damn about this case. Not in the least. And I wonder why. What conclusion could you draw from that, folks? Maybe it was an inside job. Maybe. I'm just saying. Once again, I'm not saying I buy into that narrative, but that does make that insinuation, does it not? In the absence of harder evidence, Republican lawmakers and right-wing media outlets promoted conspiracy theories about the pipe bombs. House Republicans also criticized security lapses, questioning how law enforcement failed to detect the bombs for 17 hours. Dan Bongino, the current FBI director, floated the possibility last year before being tapped for his job that the act was an inside job and involved a massive cover-up. Well, because that's what the FBI itself was signaling out to everybody. Because of their lack of credibility, folks. Their lack of ability to actually go after this person. When, once again, D.C. is one of the most heavily surveilled cities on this planet. Outside of China, of course. It's one of the most heavily surveilled videos. And then once again, once you look at the evidence that the Trump administration, under the direct leadership of Kash Patel, has released, right? That whole video I was talking about with the dude showing where he went. Yeah, Christopher Wray's FBI had all that information. Did they ask for the help, for assistance from the public? No, they didn't. No, they didn't. And they manipulated footage and cut some things out of that footage that they released to us. So, once again, once you get all that information, what does that point to right there? That they are trying to hide something from the public. The fact that this person was on so many different surveillance cameras, on so many different business footage, all that, right? This dude was all over the place. You mean to tell me they could not find the suspect? Could not figure that out. It's weird. The guy left no fingerprints, no nothing, no DNA, nothing on these pipe bombs. Absolutely nothing. And then, the new administration comes in. I forget how long Kash Patel's been at the job now. It's probably been at least 6 months. So within 6 months, they review all the file footage. They review all the everything. And all of a sudden, they come up with a suspect. And then they don't release who that suspect is. That's interesting. That's very interesting, folks. Once again, what does that point to? Oh, my conspiracy theory, Associated Press? I guess so. The FBI's top 2 leaders, Bongino and Director Kash Patel, sought to breathe new life into the investigation despite having openly disparaged the Bureau's broader approach to the January 6th siege, and despite Trump's pardons on his first day back in office of the rioters who stormed the Capitol, including those who violently attacked police with poles and other makeshift weapons. That is 5 times they have now mentioned that. And once again, what does that have to do with this? What does that have to do with Kash Patel doing the job, trying to find this person, right? Operating the FBI. What does any of that have to do with anything? Once again, folks, these people, they are not fact bringers. I'm telling you, folks, they are not fact bringers. They are partisan hackery makers. That's what they do. That's all they do. They make hackery. It's insane, y'all. In a long post on X last month, Bongino wrote that the FBI had brought in new personnel to examine the case and dramatically increased investigative resources, along with the public award for information to utilize crowdsourcing leads, folks. And what does that tell you? How come the FBI did not do that in the first place? Maybe because they did not care about who this person was, because they already knew who this person was. Once again, I don't have any hard evidence to back up that assertion. But, once again, I'm not really making an assertion, am I? I am just saying that's what it looks like from public perception. From the public's perspective, that is the perception of the situation. That the FBI is trying to hide, or was trying to hide information. Because, once again, think about this. Okay, so Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, they massively increased resources. So the FBI, personnel, everything, so they could investigate this properly and thoroughly. Why was that not done in the first place? You would think, once again, going back to what I was talking about earlier with Kamala Harris being within 10 feet of this pipe bomb, don't you think they would have wanted to know who and bring that person to justice? Don't you think? I mean, wouldn't you think that? They almost killed the incumbent vice president. They almost, if somebody would have detonated those bombs, all of those people would be blown away. And we would have had a political assassination of a vice president in this country. We were 10 feet away from that. Don't you think they would have already, put that amount of resources into this in the first place? Maybe they did. And maybe they were just incompetent. Maybe that's what it is, right? It doesn't necessarily have to point to a cover-up. Maybe they were just that incompetent. But do we believe that, folks? Do we believe that the best of the best law enforcement agency in the world could be that incompetent? Once again, these people, the corporate press mainly, and in this case the FBI as well, They are the ones that force our hand into this, essentially. That they force our hand into believing and buying into conspiracy theories, because incompetence, folks. Once again, you look at it and it's either incompetence or it's a cover-up. You're covering something up here. Clearly. They have the suspect, and we're going to see in days. See if they release this person's name and see who exactly it is. See if they figure all this out. We'll see, folks. I just wanted to get this story out there because I thought it was fascinating. So I want you guys to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. Don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. Click that join button. Sign up and become a member. That is the best way to help this channel expand and grow, folks. And once again, you know, God has a plan for you in particular. Even if you don't buy into that nonsense, right? If you think it's nonsense, God does have a plan for you. All you got to do is open your heart, open your mind a little bit, and allow God to come in. And He will change your life for the better, folks. Turn your life over to Jesus. That's it. That's all you got to do. Just pray. Pray about it, folks. But once again, you guys, y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.